Hi, I'm Hal Kurfehs, Executive Vice President of Scalzo Commercial and New Development. And I should say that we're a full-service real estate company encompassing commercial, new development, residential, property management, and modular construction. I've been asked after previous podcasts that I've done and I've done them on mainly multifamily development, industrial, office, and others. Why haven't I done something on retail? Is it something that I don't like or don't favor? And that's absolutely far from the truth. It's one of my favorite sectors, I should say, but I drifted away to the hotter areas that were in favor at the time, but now I'm back again. And I should mention my background so that might help you put this into perspective in terms of my outlook on retail. In my earlier career, I had been in the New York advertising business for about 10 years as an account executive on national packaged goods accounts that sold in supermarkets, drugstores, and other retail. And then later I worked as a general manager of two divisions containing three companies for a large multinational retail-oriented company. So it was in my blood, you could say. When I went into real estate, of course, I gravitated into retail. Retail was familiar, and selling or leasing or even building a shopping center was like money in the bank. I even spent time every year at retail conventions in Las Vegas, New York, Boston, and Hartford. But 10 years ago, retail slowed. Actually, it was more like 15 years ago. I think it started around the time of the 2008 mini depression, if you want to call it that. Then further on, it really got a knockout punch from the pandemic. Retail was overbuilt. Some malls and shopping centers went through conversions and demolitions. Vacancies were up to about 10%. They were having problems with e-commerce competition, which was growing fast at the time. And then the pandemic hit, and that was a disaster. Prior to the pandemic, online sales were really about 11% of total retail sales, but they were very, very much in the public mind. During the pandemic, it actually spiked to about 22% by 2023. That is about 1.1 trillion versus about 5.1 trillion brick and mortar. That's in dollars. And then something happened after the pandemic. It was determined that consumers still enjoy the physical aspects of shopping and the experience of shopping, perhaps more than before. And this was very apparent. The U.S. net retail space inventory during the tough years in retail increased just about 500 million square feet in that last 10 years. To a total of 12 billion square feet to start 2024. It largely eliminated the overbuilt capacity. While still growing fast, but from a smaller base, online sales have dropped back to about 16% of total retail sales. In other words, that was a spike to about 22%. Because there was no other choice for people to shop. The only stores that really were open and doing fairly well were supermarkets. But this overbuilt capacity was kind of dissipated, and that led to a favorable disposition of the retail market. Calibration of physical retail led to a record low inventory and that record low vacancy rates of 4.1% first quarter of 24. In other words, from 10%, it gradually got down to 4.1% vacancy in that first quarter of 24. Asking rents were up 2.9%, almost 3% over last year, to a new record high of $25 per square foot. Another encouraging trend is the addition of non-retailers in shopping centers and malls, such as healthcare, leisure, hospitality, things like that. A word about competition between traditional brick mortar and e-commerce. This will help you understand the background of it. It's starting to blur. Online retailers are starting to realize there is a cap on growth unless they can have complementary physical presence in stores. While traditional retailers are starting to add online services. In other words, they're morphing. Both sectors are morphing. The online retailing is starting to say, hey, we can't go any further, or we're limited in growth unless we can get some physical presence. The physical presence stores are saying, hey, this is an extra tool for us to add. So the whole thing is going to settle down, kind of dissipate, because there'll be so much cross movement. Another example of what will happen in the real estate field, or what has happened, is the office market. When everyone was predicting its death a year ago, I wrote an article entitled "Office Space in State Not Ready to be Buried." My premise was that the pandemic gave it a bad shot, but that it would bottom out and then slowly recover within about 2 to 4 years. And this is already starting to happen. I really think that judgment is of this kind of development is across any category. They get overbuilt, they get stale, they do something, they get out of favor, they think about where they're at the time. They say, what do we have to do to get back? They do it, and then there's a renaissance. There are two categories that I've been concentrating on recently, and those categories are multifamily development, because there's a real shortage of housing, number one, and number two, the whole area of industrial, which is actually caused by e-commerce in a large degree, simply because they want to get closer and closer to the consumer, and therefore they have to build big warehouses in regional spots, smaller warehouses in intermediate spots, and small distribution centers right at they call it overnight delivery, I believe, right at the point of a city or a town or whatever. So again, I think I should make the point very, very clearly that retail, office, industrial, multifamily, they're all in a state of change. A year or two from now, maybe multifamily and industrial might be overbuilt. Then they'll go through a change stage. It's the same thing with retail. It has been out of the picture for so many years, 10, 15 years, that is retail, that it had a hard time to come back and to settle down, work out the kinks, make sure that they had all their plans in the right direction. But it does happen. These are large categories, each one of them. And it's like a ship that is driving the sea, a big passenger ship, say, is driving the seas, and they have to make a turn for some reason. It takes them miles and miles to make that turn. The same thing is in the case of retail or any of the other categories. And that pretty much resolves the issue, I believe. If you have any questions, I'm always willing to listen. Hope you enjoyed the talk. And if you have a real estate topic that you would like me to tackle next time around, please let me know. Thank you. Goodbye.